Hi, and welcome to Jersey Lore, a Jersey Shore discussion podcast. How are you today, my co-host?
I'm great. How are you, my co-host?
I am peachy keen. So my name is Kaitlyn.
I'm Sarah.
And, so what was your preconceptions or your notions of Jersey Shore before coming into it?
The beginnings of my relationship with the show were probably what I heard about it when I was in middle school. I didn't think I was old enough to watch it, which watching it now, no, I definitely was not old enough, so I'm proud of myself. I just knew there were Snooki and JWoww and Pauly D, because those are the three big names. And they're just this they had this reputation for just being really stupid and having really, really orange spray tans. And that's about it.
Yeah, I am younger than you, so obviously I was way too young to be watching it when it was coming out. But I just kind of picked up what it was through cultural osmosis. I think I've seen my first real experience with it was the situation starred in a safe sex ad that I think we watched in one of my classes, but it was did I tell you about that?
You didn't tell me where you found it.
It's the one where he
with Sarah Palin's
it's
daughter.
Bristol Palin, and I love the video starts with him running into her and going, "Yo, be Palin," and I like the premise that Bristol Palin is someone you would just recognize if you saw her. So that's what I kind of knew about it, and in this safe sex ad, the situation is portrayed as this lady killer type, so I kind of knew that about it. But yeah, other than that, I really didn't know much else besides, it's Snooki and that she was short. I knew that was a thing.
Yeah, the whole Snooki is short thing. And I think she wrote a book at some point and everyone was like, wow, Snooki can read. And it's this woman was almost a vet tech. We need to give them a little more credit.
Yeah,
they're just stupid because they're drunk the whole time on the show.
Yeah. Yeah, so this is our watch of the first episode. What are your impressions of it?
Watching the first episode, I feel like everyone kind of described themselves in ways that ended up being kind of inaccurate, besides maybe Pauly.
I would say Vinny as well is pretty accurate.
I guess, but then there's the guidification of Vinny.
Vinny does get guidified as the series goes on.
Because he comes in and he's yeah, I hate when dudes have the hair gel and blah blah blah. It's so fake. I'm a real Italian. But as we see, by season 3, he's getting those spray tans like everybody else.
He's got the earrings,
Yeah, the earrings change him.
He gets guidified.
That's a bit of a spoiler, but watch out for season 3 when Vinny gets earrings.
But, and I think it's an interesting distinction that Vinny draws of, I'm not like the rest of these people, I don't tan. I live with my mom.
I think they all live with their moms.
Yeah, they all live, but his is more cultural.
Yeah, where those huge dinners where
he's got,
his whole family comes over every week,
and they got
very Sopranos.
They got the seven deadly fins. And the main thing that I noticed about this episode in comparison with the rest of the series is that the story is a lot more cohesive of the episode.
Yeah. They were very comfortable kind of assigning characters to everyone.
Yeah, and especially everything is very attention grabbing. Everyone is a lot more aggressive. That's what I mainly started with.
Yeah. All the guys are I'm a lady killer, and all the girls are
I will fight you.
I will fight you.
Those are the two genders.
Yeah. I just think it's funny how he's just one of the most insecure people I've ever seen. he comes up with a nickname for himself that no one else uses.
Yeah.
Like, it's all this stuff where, like, he tries to, like, assert himself as, like, the alpha.
Yeah.
When everyone's just, like, trying to be chill, where it's kind of, like, I don't know, like, I feel like he wasn't popular in middle school.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, really internalized that, so then spent, like, his whole high school career, like, building up this, like, persona, so he could finally be, like, accepted by the popular kids.
Yeah, and I think it also is this interesting thing with, like, masculinity. Like, Guido masculinity is a lot different than, like, non-Guido, you know, because traditionally, like, you know, taking a lot of pride in your looks and spending a lot of time on that, that's, like, typically, like, a stereotypical, like, female trait.
Yeah.
But with Guidos, men spend as much time on their looks and their physical appearance as the women, which I find really interesting, and I think Mike is the kind of epitome of that, because that's really, I don't believe this phrase is used in the first episode, but that's really what GTL, Gym Tan Laundry, is all about. Gym Tan Laundry is all about, is about the upkeep of the physical appearance. And I think gender is a very interesting thing in the Guido culture.
Definitely.
And especially within the microcosm of the Jersey Shore. This was what I wanted to talk about mainly with this episode, is the double standards when it comes to sexuality with men and women.
Absolutely.
Because we have two examples, right? So the first night, Snooki, you know, she drinks too much, she's acting irresponsibly, and, you know, she's flirting with all the guys, and this gets her a bad rap. But then you have, on the second night, and it's Mike, Vinny, and Polly. They all bring girls home. MVP. These three guys, they're doing pretty much exactly what Snooki did the previous night, which is, you know, hooking up with strangers and whatever. And, you know, the only people who are kind of critical of this behavior is Angelina and Sammy. While it's interesting that Snooki's behavior on the first night garnered her criticism from everybody in the house.
Yeah.
So I think there definitely is that double standard of, you know, the men can hook up with, you know, whoever they want and be as promiscuous as they want, but it's different for the girls. And I think that this episode outlines that double standard very well.
It does, but I guess there are some, like, kind of, like, notable differences between the first night and the second night. Snooki is, like, hitting on, like, guys that she lives with, and it's, like, one girl hitting on 3 guys, but in the second night, it's the 3 guys with 3 girls that they don't know and don't live with, and it seems like it's kind of, like, consensual. It's mutual.
Whereas Snooki, the first night,
she's, like, making them very uncomfortable and is, like, not reading any of the messages that they're giving her.
Yes.
So I think, like, at least from, like, a consent kind of
standpoint, I hadn't really thought of it that way. I think,
because, like, the guys weren't making the girls
uncomfortable. They
like, they were just kind of enabling each other.
Yeah, they were having a rockin' time in the jacuzzi.
And it was, and, like, the Angelina and Sammy, they were mad at, like, the girls in the hot tub and the guys in the hot tub, because they were mad at the guys for, like, making the girls look like fools, and also at the girls for making themselves look like fools.
So, yeah, I was a little confused about...
Yeah, the hot tub politics.
Politics.
Again and again, hot tub drama.
Yes.
Nothing good has ever happened in the hot tub.
You could say every time they go into the hot tub, they land themselves in hot water.
I wish I could take a hot tub time machine and forget you said that.
Yeah, I was a little confused because obviously I understand why Sammy is upset that Mike is hooking up with this girl, because obviously they had been flirting a little bit. They have their kind of, like, middle school-esque relationship,
they're
and
holding
hands on the boardwalk. I didn't wholly understand why Angelina was upset. Was she upset that they were hooking up with girls that aren't them. That felt like a part of it for me.
It did feel like part of it.
Because Angelina did comment. I believe
Yeah.
she did comment. She's like, these girls aren't even that attractive. And I'm like, when you comment on something like that, that makes it seem like it's a personal pride thing for you.
Yeah, which I would not be surprised
considering her
what
character.
I know about Angelina.
Yeah.
I think another part of it was she was just, like, really grossed by, like, how, like, the girls were just, like, getting naked in, like, her hot tub.
Yeah, I think that's a layer of it I didn't really realize
because like they were like taking off their underwear.
Yeah,
like,
in a public.
That's kind of gross.
That's yeah. When you're living together with people, you have to respect the common areas. I did find it bizarre how they found out that this was happening, and she said, "That's so disgusting. I don't want to look at it." And then she walked upstairs and continued to look at it while it was happening.
Knowing what I know about Angelina, she does a lot of things that she knows will make her upset, and then she gets upset, and then just kind of ruins everyone's night.
Yeah, so there is that.
Because there was the little prelude to, like, stuff that she does in the future, the moment when, like, the hot tub girls, they try to come into the house, and they say, like, no, like, you can't come in here, and then Angelina is, like, really rude and says, like, don't let the door, like, hit you on the, like, on the way out. And so, like, in response, one of them calls her, like, the B word. I don't know what rating this is supposed to be. But because she calls her that word, Angelina, like, she runs after them, opens the door, and then, like, calls them all these names. And she's like, I can't believe you're, like, slamming doors in my house. And it's like, you started this.
Yes.
You started this situation by being rude. She just, like, throughout the show, just, like, cannot put together, like, action and consequence. She just thinks she can, like, do whatever she wants, and then if someone gets mad at her, like, that's their problem.
Exactly. Yeah, I think...
Because it gets so much worse so quickly.
It's a pattern that continues throughout. I wonder what it must be like to... Because I'm assuming she's not conscious of that. She doesn't... Yeah. Well, even, like, most people, you're not really aware of...
By the second season, like, if she didn't know, like, she wasn't gonna.
Yeah, but I wonder how much, like, how enlightening that must be to, like, be on reality television and you just get to see all of your destructive patterns, like, laid out in front of you. Like, that's gotta, like, do something to you. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And then it's like, this was 10 years ago, and now you have people, like, talking about your destructive habits again. And it's, like, these intimate details of your, like, personality and, like, whatever. And
that's
it's, like,
why I would never want to be, like, an influencer or, like, famous.
Yeah, no, it's...
Like, that would be probably, like, one of the worst, most embarrassing things for me.
Yeah, like, you know, say what you will about... Like, I don't, like, in passing, I've always wondered, like, like, maybe I could try reality TV. Like, maybe that'd be something, like, fun to go on. Like, I think I'm a fun personality. But I'm like, cameras are on you all the time. This episode, they literally have the audio of Snooki vomiting.
That was so gross. They, like, turned the volume all the way up just so you could hear, like, the trinkling.
I'm like, I felt really bad for Snooki this episode. Yeah. Like, I think... Yeah, and I think it's definitely a little scummy of the producers to do stuff like that, using the audio. Like, people are just saying, oh, she's vomiting. Like, we don't need to have the audio of it. That's disgusting.
Yeah, because also later on, definitely a lot in the third season, they just, like, keep in little bits where everyone's, like, burping and farting. It's, like, that's not funny.
Yeah, it's also, like...
It's just, like... Too much.
And especially in a reality TV show like this, where it's, like, they're filming where you live. Or, like, what's the other one? Big Brother.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Big Brother, I think, has a thing where if you pay for the premium one, you can just watch all the webcams in the house. I'm like, that's dystopian. That's bizarre.
Yeah. I heard about, like, on America's Next Top Model, if two people went into the bathroom at the same time, a camera was allowed to follow you. So the only time you didn't have a camera on you and, like, a camera crew physically following you is if you went to the bathroom alone. If someone went in to brush their teeth with you, they would get to follow you.
That's... What, they live together on America's Next? I didn't know that. Okay, I've never seen that show.
Or maybe it was some model show.
Yeah.
But I, like, just read about it. Yeah.
So I'm like, at the one hand, like, as much as I, like, are like, oh, I would never do that, or, like, I would never act this way when I was on reality TV, like, you know, you're in a house full of people you don't know, there's, like, alcohol flowing constantly, there's cameras on you, like, you're not going to be the
people
best.
Only eat, like, chicken and greens.
Chicken
because they're like, they gotta be jacked.
Yeah, and like I just like you're not going to be the best version of yourself, and the producers know that, I think.
Because they definitely handpick these kind of chaotic people.
Exactly.
Because then if everyone was just, like, normal and sensible, like, nothing would happen.
Nothing would happen, exactly. And I think that's why, so, like, this particular episode feels pretty, like, produced. Like, it feels a lot more cohesive, and it feels a lot more like scripted television, some portions at least. But as the show goes on, it becomes a lot less... The plot threads are kind of less cohesive, or things get really repetitive.
Yeah, they fixate on, like, one issue.
They will fixate on one issue for, like, multiple episodes. Yeah. And that's what real life is. But I think, but those later seasons are still entertaining because they managed to find these people that are so over the top and so whatever. And that's how you get a good reality TV show, is you got to get that perfect casting. Speaking of Jersey Shore, I was thinking about the situation with Danny, right?
Yeah.
So Danny is not only their boss, he's their landlord. Yeah. And I was like, Marxists would freaking hate this guy. Yeah. I mean, like, Danny is like what Jeff Bezos is gonna be in like a couple years, you know what I mean?
And he's like actually like a real person landlord, because I wrote multiple times in my notes just... Danny does not have a television presence.
No, he doesn't look like any of the Guidos, he doesn't, whatever.
He's kind of, I don't know, just kind of like tall and blinky, and like every time he's like talking to someone, it feels very scripted. Yeah. Like he's just like rehearsing. I don't know, he comes off as like really like two-dimensional.
Or just, yeah.
Like when there are these moments where like people will like show up to work late and they're like, oh no, I have to deal with Danny, but he's just like very quietly going like, hey, like that can't happen again, and then like they'll cut to them in like the interview room and they're like, oh my god, Danny was so mad at me.
Danny seems like a weird presence in the show.
Yeah, he just, because everyone's so over the top, so orange, and like all the guys are like so buff, to see just like a person who looks like they went to like, I don't know. Like,
he looks like he's someone who's really into, like, cycling.
Yeah. If he was just a little more, like, physically intimidating, I would buy it.
So they should have gotten, like, The Rock, or, like, a bald... I'm picturing, like, a bald, like, almost like a Hank Schrader type.
Just someone who's just, like, looks like they could beat you up.
I don't think there's many people that could look like they could beat Ronnie up.
Really quick, I wanted to go over some of my favorite parts of, I don't know, some parts of the episode that made me just, like, want to, like, roll out of my seat. So, the fist bumping was such a testament to its time, because I remember my freshman year of high school going to homecoming. You would get like a dress from like Forever 21 that looks like a trash bag, straighten your hair so much that it's like burnt, and then try to do like a bad like cat eye, and then you're walking in there like tripping over yourself because you're wearing like 4-inch heels, and all they do is play like LMFAO, and everyone's and, just like, jumping up and down and fist bumping. Like, where did that come from? Why is it a thing?
I like the fact that I think when Vinny's describing what fist bumping, and that he's so specific about it, that it's like, because you like fist bump at like a concert or whatever, but it's not like a conscientious thing you're choosing to do, or like
it's just not like, oh, I'm really enjoying the music,
or just like this is something that looks cool, because it doesn't.
But yeah, he has like a little breakdown because it's something that he's like really genuinely passionate
and
about.
Something that you think about.
Yeah.
Like, and I find that bizarre because he's like, I'm gonna think about fist bumping a lot, and I'm looking forward to fist bumping, and it's like, it's fist bumping.
Yeah. Like, I remember, like, there were some nights where they would go out, and it seemed like the only reason he and Polly wanted to go out was so they could fist bump. Not to meet girls, not to have a good time and like drink, but just so they could fist bump as hard as possible. Like, that was the highlight of their night.
He's like describing it like it's some like religious experience.
Literally.
And okay, speaking of just like traditions, like Jersey Shore traditions. What I didn't realize is when they're talking in the beginning, I didn't realize that getting a quote unquote Jersey Shore house was like a tradition. Or like what it reminded me of is when you speak to Jewish people about going on birthright, like they talk about it the same way, where it's like, yeah, you get to go and it's like this great experience, you get to like connect with your culture.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's also like for people who like live kind of close to the Jersey Shore anyway. Because everyone's kind of from like the, I don't know, like the kind of like the downstate area.
Yeah.
Like you got a couple people from New Jersey, Snooki's from Poughkeepsie,
A couple people from New York.
Yeah, and
Polly's
then Polly's randomly from Rhode Island, which when I picture Rhode Island, like I just know that Brown is there. The fact that it has people like Pauly D and also people who go to Brown.
I think my favorite thing is, and I don't think they show this in this episode, but I think when they show some of Pauly D's friends from home and none of them look like him.
Yeah.
Like, he's like the total anomaly. The fact that he has a tanning bed in his house.
Yeah.
Because that also means he bought a tanning bed for his house on a DJ's salary.
And I think he's living with his mom even though he's almost 30.
Oh my god. If I had a son and he was 30 years old and a DJ
and bought a tanning bed
and living in my house and bought a tanning bed. I'm shaking my head. I forgot this was a podcast. I would have a fit.
Yeah.
I would say, get out of my house, gabba-da-ghoul.
Oh, another thing. The Scarface poster in the Shore house. Because it ties into my fascination with Scarface as a concept. Not the original Scarface, but specifically the Brian De Palma, Al Pacino classic, which is about, I'm pretty sure he's like Puerto Rican.
So why is it even in the Shore house? He's not even Italian in that movie.
Yeah, it's just because it's Pacino. I remember like people going into the house and being like, oh yeah, Italian pride, Scarface. It's like, no, this is like just like a xenophobic movie where Al Pacino is addicted to cocaine and at the end of the movie tries to hit on his sister. Spoiler.
What?
Yeah.
Okay. They should have just put up like the poster for Jack and Jill, because Al Pacino's also in that.
Or just like another one of the like, they have the gaudy like Italian flag with its
with John Travolta.
No.
That's also Italian.
Gaudy, Gaudy. But if they had just had like a poster of like the gaudy Italian flag with the state of New Jersey and the white middle part, that would have been perfect. Then I would have been like, oh yeah, Italian pride. It's not even a picture of like Italy. It's a picture of New Jersey.
Yeah.
But like they're kind of both boot shaped, so it works.
Sure.
I would have bought that more than a Scarface poster.
And I would like to point out that Mike had an identical Scarface poster in his room.
He did. I love that.
Some of the tinier moments, I noticed Mike has a pattern where he just starts defining words. So there's a quote from him. Once I arrive, it's like, I'm here. There was another one that I forgot to write down.
There was the thing where he was like, oh yeah, when the girls showed up, it was like, oh man, this is about to be a situation. The situation's gonna be so crazy, you're not even gonna be able to know what the situation is.
Yeah, it's like,
where he thinks that because he's talking really fast, it's like really sincere and like really like, I don't know, like poignant.
It's like Ben Shapiro.
Yeah.
I think that's the only time anyone's ever drawn. And Mike the situation has a lot more charisma than Ben Shapiro.
I would say that if I was given the chance to attend the Jersey Shore house, I would have a blast. I would hit on all the guidettes. I would become a juice-head gorilla. I would drink run juice. Therefore, I think that I should be the next contestant on the Jersey Shore.
He's not the right ethnicity for it. Can you imagine Ben Shapiro with a spray tan?
Oh, man.
I don't think his wife, who is a doctor, would be very approving of that.
I don't think she would. I don't think she would say.
She would say that Snooki has a medical condition.
Oh man. I have another note. That's just filthy, creepy, and weird. Ron. I love the idea of like, I don't know, like...
Because they refer to flirting as creeping.
Flirting is creeping.
When I first started watching the show, I didn't realize that's what that meant.
No.
And I was like, why are they talking about how they want to creep on girls? That's not a good thing.
Where it's like, it's essentially what they're doing. It's just, it's okay because, like, they're hot.
Well, also because the girls like them back. Yeah.
But Vinny just wants to fist bump.
Vinny just wants to fist bump. All right.
Did you have any other notes?
No, I mean, I am excited to see where this podcast goes. I think we've got a good start. I hope you tune in with us next week and watch episode 2 with us before the next episode. Have a good one.